Hey guys, it's Gaming Evangelist here, and today I'm going to be talking about my Netrunner build and how to make it extremely overpowered so that you can take out entire enemy groups in mere seconds while taking minimal to no damage at all. I also mix up net running with some tech weapons, so that's what the build will be focused on. So net running plus tech weapons combination. Before we move on, let's first talk about what a Netrunner is and how do you become one. Cyberpunk offers its players a variety of playing styles and builds to explore. I personally love games where I can sneak up on enemies and complete entire missions without mostly alerting anyone. In most of my narrative games that I've played, my goal is always to take it slow and find different ways to kill enemies rather than going in all guns blazing. Basically, I'm a fan of stealth-based play, and once Cyberpunk introduced me to scanning for objects, distracting enemies, and hacking mechanics, I instantly knew that's what I will be building my character and playstyle around. That, my friends, in a nutshell is what a Netrunner is. You hack your way into objects and enemies, distracting them, killing them, and wreaking havoc in a variety of creative and different ways from afar, while occasionally bringing yourself to the front if needed. Now, all of this needs to be done in a very efficient manner, and that is where this video comes in. What are some of the hacks, skills, perks, and cyberwares you need to invest in to get the most out of this build? So let's jump into the perks that in my opinion are the most important and must-haves for a build like this. You would need to spend 20 skill points in the intelligence skill tree in order to get the most out of this build and spread the remaining perk points accordingly in other skill trees. And the goal here is to use perks that decrease the RAM cost for quick hacks so you can chain multiple quick hacks together without running out of RAM. And also perks that enhance the damage of these quick hacks. So some of the skills that you would want to get as soon as possible are mass vulnerability. So what this does is once you scan an enemy, it will give you an option for breach protocol, and that's where this skill comes in place. So uploading the correct sequence of characters will reduce the resistance of all enemies for a certain period of time. That means the damage hacks you will apply on those enemies later will deal more damage to them. The second one, which is straight up an enhanced version of this perk, is called mass vulnerability resistance and can be found right next to this one, which basically enhances this perk even more. Total recall, which reduces cost of performing a hack by 1 RAM provided you upload the correct sequence of characters in breach protocol, is also very important. Totaler recall is also one you should get, as it enhances this perk even more by reducing the cost of hacks by an additional 1 RAM. Big sleep is very important. It allows you to disable all cameras once the correct sequence is uploaded in breach protocol. And trust me, you will need this in most of the story missions if you want to go in quiet, as there are a lot of cameras in some of them which will spot you out of nowhere. Mass vulnerability quick hack is the sixth one which you would want, which basically, in addition to reducing the resistance of enemies, you also deal an extra 30% damage with all the quick hacks, so very helpful. Another perk I really like is called Cloud Cache, and that's extremely important. The last thing you would want is running out of RAM in the middle of a fight and waiting for the cooldown to happen and then an enemy spots you. So this skill essentially reduces your RAM cost for how many successful sequences of characters you upload in the breach protocol. So this will stack on top of the total recall skills I mentioned. So that brings your cost down of quick hacks drastically for each quick hack that you do. And then one of my favorite skills is called Head Start. So remember the sequences you need to upload. Well, with this skill, every time you scan for breach protocol, the first sequence is automatically uploaded for you. And you guys have no idea how beneficial this is. And you can see that right here when I scan the enemy. Now let's move to the quick hacking tab, and you can see all the perks that I have invested in, but some of the ones I would highlight and recommend are called Bloodware. So right off, all quick hacks will deal more damage, and this damage will stack on top of the damage dealt using mass vulnerability quick hack perk, which we saw earlier. Forget Me Not is another skill you need to get, as you will instantly recover a RAM back if your quick hack killed that enemy. Subliminal Message is another one you you would want as it increases damage to unaware targets. Bartmoss Legacy is one you would want in order to craft the legendary quick hacks. More on that later in the video. Critical Error is one you would want as it deals critical hits. Optimization decreases your RAM cost. So you can see with all these perks that the theme is to decrease the RAM cost, be as efficient as possible, and increase the damage as much as we can. Now let's move to the Cyberwares next, and perhaps the most important part of the Cyberwares is the Cyber deck. My personal favorite choice of the best Cyber deck is the Netwatch NetDriver MK5 RAM, and this is the one that I recommend. The reason being that offensive quick hacks can spread to other targets within a 6-meter radius. So basically I use short circuit quick hack a lot, and if 2-3 enemies are standing together in a group, the others also get short circuited. I'm not exactly sure which other quick hacks can be uploaded like this, as I mostly use the short circuit. Also, the rest of the effects on this Cyber deck are just too good, such as damage dealt by quick hacks increased by 30%, and quick hack spread distance is increased by 60%. So quick hacks such as Contagion go extremely well with this. The Netwatch NetDriver is a must-have in my book. There is a requirement to get this. You need to be street credit level 40 in order to purchase this, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't recall correctly, but I think this can be purchased here at this Ripper Dock in Wellsprings. Some other cyberwares you want are X-Disc, which is for your frontal cortex and it increases your RAM capacity, and the legendary version can be purchased at this Ripper Dock in Pacifica. Visual cortex support increases your crit damage, and it's another cyberware that I recommend. The legendary version can be purchased at the same Pacifica Ripper Dock as well. Limbic system enhancement is another one that increases your crit chance, and this one can be purchased at the Ripper Dock in Japantown. For all these frontal cortex implants, you would need a high level in intelligence. So like I mentioned earlier, make sure you keep at least 20 points for intelligence skill tree. Another important cyberware that I recommend getting is the bioconductor, which is for your circulatory system. It reduces all quick hacks cooldown, so less waiting between each quick hack. The epic version can be purchased at the Ripper Dock at Wellsprings. I have the epic version as I had 15 perk points invested in my body skill tree, but if you have like 18 body I think, then you can get the legendary version as well. One more implant that I highly recommend, but it's not necessarily required for this build, is called the optical camo for the integumentary system. This lets you become invisible. The reason I say you get this is because you can get up close to enemies and hack them rather than staying afar. Plus, it's extremely fun being right up close to enemies and without them spotting you. The good thing is that there is no skill requirement for this one, so you can purchase it without worrying about investing skill points in some skill tree. You can get it from the Ripper Dock here in Santo Domingo. Just one more thing that I recommend, and it's not an implant but rather a mod for your ocular system, and it's called Threat Detector. So when the enemy spots you, it automatically highlights all the enemies that spotted you. It's a nice to have mod, but it's not necessary for this build, and it can be purchased from the first Ripper Dock that you encounter in the game. So that's it for cyberwares with respect to the Netrunner build. Let me know in the comments other cool cyberwares that I may have missed but are good for the Netrunner build. Now my most favorite part of this build, the quick hacks. Now I have all legendary quick hacks, but I crafted these when I was round about level 38 in the game. Before this, I was just using the epic or rare versions of these, which you can get by looting enemies, chests, or from vendors throughout Night City. Remember I told you to invest in a skill called Bartmoss Legacy? Well, this was the reason for that, as it allows you to craft legendary versions of these quick hacks if you have the epic versions of these in your inventory. By the time I got that perk, I had all the epic or purple ones already just by playing the game. In case you don't have them, a good location for buying the epic versions, should you not have them in your inventory, is right here in Coast View in Pacifica. Moving back to the quick hacks, I have Short Circuit right at the top. It's my favorite and I use this the most. With the perks and implants I mentioned earlier, using this kills enemies in one quick hack, and should the enemies be standing close, it kills multiple enemies on very hard difficulty at the same time. My second most used quick hack, and the one I recommend, is called Ping. I cannot stress the importance of this hack. It basically pinpoints the location of all enemies and highlights them in red. This is super useful in story missions and in buildings to locate exact locations of enemies. The third quick hack I use and recommend is Contagion. This goes really well with our cyber deck we use, as this applies poison damage and spreads over to other enemies. Because of our cyber deck specification, the spread distance becomes even wider and it's perfect to take out large horde of enemies. My fourth most important quick hack is called Suicide. This comes in handy on big machines and robots where short circuit doesn't do the job. I will be using this one. The enemy basically kills or self-detonates themselves.
No threat detected.
Remaining two quick hacks I have are the ones I use occasionally, and they are Overheat and Synapse Burnout. I use them very rarely or just use them for fun. Another one I have which I don't use that much but just for fun sometimes is called Detonate Grenade. But the four main ones I recommend are Short Circuit, Ping, Contagion and Suicide. Again, don't worry much about legendary versions of these as you will eventually get those. You can use the epic or rare versions, and once you get the perk Bartmoss Legacy you can craft these. For outfits I don't use any specific ones. I really wanted to, but I couldn't find any outfits that would help my Netrunner build. If you guys know any outfits that increase crit damage, crit chance, or decrease cooldown for quick hacks, let me know. Also, what I was not able to find throughout the game are good weapon mods and clothing mods. I searched online and all the locations mentioned have all been changed since this next gen version came out, I guess. So if you guys know where I will find legendary mods or legendary crafting blueprints, do let me know. Let's talk weapons now. Most Netrunner builds I see used by others are not weapon focused, but personally I really like using tech weapons. The thrill of charging a shot and seeing the enemy destroy in a single shot somehow feels extremely satisfying in this game. So I use net running and tech weapons together. My favorite weapon that I have used in this game is called the Widowmaker. This thing is ridiculous. It has a plus 150% headshot damage multiplier, and add in the fact that there's a 4.5% crit chance and another plus 15% crit damage. This thing is absolutely insane. I crafted the legendary version of this. For that you would need a skill from the technical ability tree that allows you to craft legendary weapons, but I used the rare version of this during my game. You get that as part of a mission, so I won't spoil it here. My other weapon of choice, which I use side by side with the Widowmaker, is a double-barreled shotgun called DB2 Satara. This thing is an absolute tank. To feel the power on this, you really need to try it for yourself. I remember I looted this from somewhere and directly got the legendary version. I don't recall exactly which mission it was, but once I used it, it hasn't left my build since. The third weapon I have right now is a revolver, though I don't use it at all. Sometimes just for fun I would alternate it with a sniper rifle, but that's about it. Now for the mods, I already mentioned earlier that I could not find any legendary mod at all throughout my game. If you guys know any vendors or locations where I could find legendary mods, please do let me know. With that being said, that is all for the build, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, what builds you use, and any improvements I can make in my build. If you have came this far, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. For my Cyberpunk next gen version review video, click here, and for Horizon Forbidden West guides, click here. Thank you all. And